Well, officially welcome to anyone who's here live, and if you'll be checking in on the replay. This is 5 Reasons Smart Women Settle for Less and the Small Shifts That Bring Big Abundance. So today we are focusing on reason number 2, why smart women settle for less. And just as a refresher for those of you who weren't here for the first 2 trainings, while I am focusing on smart women and accomplished professional women, this is for anyone, all genders, who resonate with this topic. So welcome to all of you. So today we're going to dive into this reason why smart women settle for less and the small shifts that bring big abundance. And what we're going to be exploring today is this idea that the way you deal with your emotions and feelings may be causing you to settle for less than you want or deserve. So if you're just showing up, please say hello so I know who's here. And as questions or comments arise, please feel free to share because that lets me, make this relevant to you. All right, so if you have missed the overview or reason number 1, you can get all of the recordings and the handouts at this link, surpassyourlimits.com/5 reasons. And there is a handout for today's training. So if you haven't already gotten, just go over there. You can either print it out if you have that capacity or just get out paper and pen, because I like to encourage people to jot down anything that stands out for you, so that you can engage in whatever learning process is supportive to you, and it helps you integrate it a little bit more than just having me talk to you. Now, the overarching purpose for this 6-part mini training is to illuminate how to access your untapped power to thrive generously for yourself, your loved ones, and our world. And as I like to say, I'm highlighting the word untapped because smart women and accomplished professional women have indeed already tapped into a tremendous amount of power and make amazing things happen. But the untapped power, the power that still is either hidden or dormant to you, is the difference between what you have now, which you hopefully will be discovering through this training, that you're actually settling, and it's not your fault, and it's not a flaw, but you could be settling in ways you don't even realize, because we are all products of our environment. And I talked about that in the overview. So you can really understand how, as products of our environment, we operate from incorrect information and missing information, and that causes us to settle. So this is about accessing the power within you that is as of yet untapped to thrive generously for yourself and for others. And the theme that we're weaving in and out of this entire training is that the places you feel unfulfilled point to the places you've been settling for less than the natural abundance that's available for you. So we operate throughout this training and everything that I coach and teach about that you are whole and complete. There's a natural abundance to you and to all of life. And so if you're not experiencing it, it's not because there's lack or there's something missing within you or life, but you don't know how to access it. So we operate from that presupposition, and thriving generously is about accessing this natural abundance. All right, so this is what we're going to explore today. Number 1, how you are currently dealing with fear, loss of hope, and other feelings and emotions. So you'll get a reality check, kind of a snapshot that might illuminate some things you didn't realize. We're going to explore the small shift that brings big abundance, the non-negotiable requirement to stop settling, missing asset number 2 to thrive generously. So if you are new here, back to the overview, go back and check it out if you missed it. One of the things that we're operating from is a model of power that illuminates 5 assets that many smart women are missing, again, because we're products of our environment. So we illuminate these 5 assets, learn how to access and work with these assets, and that opens up the upper limits around where we've been settling and where we haven't been able to open up to greater fulfillment. So we'll be talking about missing asset number 2, I'll be sharing some real life examples about how this small shift actually supports you to thrive generously. So these are actual students and clients and the kind of results that they've gotten with this practice. And I'm also going to give you a practice and a writing prompt so you can take what you learned here today and go deeper with it. Let it really go into your beingness and not just have it be a head thing. Let's see, anybody else here today? Please say hello. Check in the chat. Let me know where you're calling from. All right, so let's first talk about, and this is at the top of your handout if you have it, how do you deal with your feelings? Now, the reason I italicize the word deal is because that right there is a little hint about the shift you're going to be making. All right. Dealing is something that we do when we are in problem-solving mode. And we relate to our feelings as if they are problems to overcome, to deal with, to solve. That does not serve you in thriving generously. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the power of being. So we've illuminated the doing model of power, which smart women tend to over-rely upon to receive the things that they want in life, yet it only can take you so far. And the 5 assets come from the being model of power, the power of being. And what I thought would be better than just talking about it, because that keeps us in our heads, is I'm going to guide you through a short exercise. So whether you are here live or will be checking in with the replay and you come back either here on Facebook or the recordings, if you would share with me, just do #replay so I know when you engaged in this, and you can share through this exercise, that would be wonderful, because I can, continue to provide feedback for you if there are any questions. All right. So what I'd invite you to do with this exercise now is think about something in your life that either brings up fear, worry, concern. And I invite you to, instead of thinking about it, soften the thoughts. I invite you to close your eyes and bring your awareness to your body. And allow yourself to take 3 deep breaths as you shift from thinking to feeling. As best you can. And I know if it's the middle of your day or you're busy, just this stopping the doing to shift from the being requires intention, requires a little bit of will, but that's okay, because this is the power, your willpower, how to harness that in a way that serves you. Not by trying to make something happen, but by shifting where your awareness is. So bringing your attention to your body, the sensations in your body. As you are present with this worry, fear, or concern. And notice the first sensation that you're aware of. As best you can, let this sensation be here. With gentleness. With gentleness, with compassion. And give yourself permission, just for now, to let the thoughts sort of put them on a shelf. You can always go back to them later. And you can let the problem solving rest for a little bit and bring your awareness to the sensations in your body. Be as gentle as you can. If there is resistance, let that be here. If there are thoughts, let them be here. And just allow yourself to simply be. Let this workshop, this training be a space for you to be, which is the first asset we talked about last time. Space for you to be. As you allow yourself to be in this space, I'm going to read to you a little passage from a resource that I created for students to be able to practice the power of being. So whatever this worry is about, just let these words wash over you. Worry occurs when you give lots of your attention to unwanted thoughts and images regarding things that could happen in the future. With worry, the thoughts you receive are not the problem. What you do with the thoughts, however, can be. A thought becomes a source of worry when, instead of letting the thought pass through your awareness, you put extra energy into the belief that what you fear really, truly could happen. But just because something is possible does not mean it's probable. As a matter of fact, the vast majority of the things that cause us worry never come to pass. But even when we know this to be true, we struggle. This is because most of us try to subdue our worry in ineffective ways. We attempt to control the future by preparing for the feared outcome. We try to anticipate what will happen despite the fact that we can't know the future. We try to speak logic to our emotions, even though most of the time you can't logic your way into feeling differently. When, however, you shift your approach from subdue to soothe, the struggle that you experience with worry begins to soften and you become able once again to receive something new. When you become hyper-focused on trying to fix the source of your worry, it actually fuels your worry. It gives it more life. Where your attention goes, the energy flows. So if your focus is, I need to fix this worry, you will manifest you needing to fix this worry. But when you explore how to soothe your worry, your consciousness becomes a message to life that says, I deserve kindness, comfort, and nurturing around this worry. This in turn opens you to receive comfort, nurturing, and the kindness of life in expected and unexpected ways. Your consciousness creates your reality. Next time you find yourself worrying, notice, stop, close your eyes, and take a few deep breaths. Turn your awareness away from the source of your worry and turn your attention inward. Focus on the sensations in your body. Breathe some more. Then ask your inner wisdom, what do you need? Listen. You may hear an answer. You might not right away. Don't seek an answer. Simply be and remain in a state of listening. If you need throughout the day, you can ask again, what do you need? Perhaps you need to speak the worry out loud or write it down or vent with a friend. Perhaps you need to let it be okay that you're afraid, or you need to rest, or you need to give yourself permission to ask for support. Perhaps you need a hug if one is available, or simply the reassurance that you're not alone. Let yourself be curious and explore how to best meet your need. As you discover how to meet your needs, you become available to receive your wants. Just take a moment now to notice how you feel in comparison to when you first began. And as you're ready, if your eyes were closed, you can open them. And I'd love to hear how you're feeling. Just let me know if you feel better, worse, or the same. And whatever your answer is, it's okay. Because this isn't about controlling your experience. It's about practicing a different way of being in relationship to your feelings, your fears, and your worries, instead of thinking that you have to figure them out or deal with them or overcome them. You can start to shift to a way of being, the power of being in relationship with your being. Better. Awesome. That's usually the case. And that is the power of what we're going to be learning today. Is it's very simple to feel better. But the piece that a lot of people don't know, a lot of smart women don't know, is not only will you feel better, but you open up to your natural abundance. So we're going to connect the dots about that. So thanks for participating in this, and please feel free to share comments and questions. So something to know about the being model of power, as you start to practice these things, is you will feel and see the results before your mind will understand how it works. And so what tends to happen is when we over rely on the doing model of power, we have to understand something first. We really rely on the mind and our problem solving. And if we don't understand it, then we actually think that the thinking part is what's going to make us feel better. If I understand it, if I conquer this, if I figure it out, if I fix it, then I'll feel better. But with the being model of power, you just show up, which is what we talked about in the last training, just practicing showing up for yourself, claiming space to simply be. And as you practice these ways of being, which are super simple, they're just practices, you feel better. You start to receive things in your life in all sorts of ways. And ultimately, as you keep showing up, you'll start to understand intellectually what's happening. So just a little tip there. You don't need to understand this for it to work for you. So now that we've talked about dealing with your emotions and feelings versus relating to them in a new way, I want to talk a little bit about the cost of dealing with your emotions. All right. When you deal with your emotions, when you neglect this part of yourself, reject this part of yourself, remember we talked about how you can never truly experience deep and lasting fulfillment as long as you neglect and reject parts of yourself. And that is something that we've learned to do as products of our environment. So when you are neglecting or rejecting parts of you, even if you don't know what they are, it automatically causes you to settle in ways that you may not even understand. So here's some examples of what happens when you neglect or reject aspects of you. And today we're talking about your relationship with your feelings. When you neglect and reject your feelings, your emotions, again, fear, you become afraid, or you lose hope. Those are just some of the feelings that cause us to settle, but all kinds of feelings that have been neglected and we don't even know about will cause us to settle, because it's just a knee-jerk reaction to just tough it out and push on through and abandon ourselves to be productive, because that's where we get our sense of value. So here's the cost when you settle. You will settle for poor health and low energy because you're afraid, fear, to say no to other people's needs. You settle for joylessness because you're afraid to step out of your comfort zone. So you'll just settle for the status quo, even if you're not feeling joy or happiness. You settle for unfulfilling work because you're afraid to take risks. You settle for being alone because you've lost hope on love. So lost hope, more feelings. You settle for poor relationships because you're afraid to put yourself first. You settle for a life of survival or surviving because you've lost hope that you could actually thrive. You settle for going without support because you're afraid to ask for help. So these are just some of the costs of neglecting or rejecting your feelings and emotions. And again, it's not your fault. It's not a flaw. It's just because you didn't know any better, because we're products of our environment. Again, the handout will give you these places where you can jot these things down, and the slides will be available too. So the small shift that brings big abundance is to shift. Again, this is something we do in our awareness and how we relate to ourselves. Shift from trying to fix yourself to nurturing yourself. The small shift that brings big abundance is to shift from fixing yourself to nurturing yourself. So, what does this mean? What does this mean to nurture ourselves? It means there is nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. Your feelings, your vulnerabilities, your concerns, your worries, there's nothing wrong with you. You don't have to fix it. Your feelings and emotions are not problems to solve. Your feelings and emotions are real and legitimate. Your feelings and emotions are valuable. Imagine that. If you believe that your fears, your worries, concerns are a liability, because that's what you learned as a product of your environment, either to survive, either because you got those messages growing up, even if you got those messages from your culture, your race, your work environment, whatever it is, and you became useful in order to get the attention you wanted. We got the messages that our feelings and emotions are a liability. They are not. They are valuable. You are worthy of warmth, love, safety, and care exactly as you are. And yes, even and especially when you're a hot mess. When you're experiencing difficult feelings, it's a call for more love, not less. More space for you, more attention, more availability, more time to rest, more compassion, more reassurance. Your feelings and emotions actually open the door wider to the natural abundance that is here for you as you nurture. So not only are your emotions not a liability when you nurture, because nurturing is the key to that. It can absolutely feel like a liability because you feel like a hot mess and you're afraid that you can't function and you can't think because you haven't had those skills. But the truth is that as you start to practice nurturing yourself, you will discover quite quickly that your emotions, this relationship of nurturing your emotions rather than fixing them actually opens the door wider to the natural abundance that is here for you within you and all of life. It's mathematical. I have proven this to myself, and with the help of 30 years of working with clients almost, you practice this, the results show up within and externally. So on to the next point. The non-negotiable requirement then to stop settling. And you might remember the majestic tree, which is our mascot for the being model of power, whereas the hunter is the mascot for the doing model of power. You are a human being, like the tree is a living being, and it receives from life all day long without hunting, without thinking, without examining or problem solving. The natural abundance of life is here and it knows how to access it. So the non-negotiable requirement to stop settling and open up to the abundance that's here is that you must be willing to believe that there is nothing wrong with you, that you already are whole and complete, just like the tree. Again, like last time I said, the tree might be tiny and it might be growing and it might be majestic and deeply rooted and expansive in power and presence, right? But it's always a tree. It's whole and complete. There's nothing missing. So the tree never gets fixed. As a matter of fact, if there's a storm and a limb breaks off, it doesn't get fixed. It is nurtured, 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 nurtured forever by life. So nurturing then allows the tree to grow in power, presence, and its contribution to others in so many ways. And the same is true for you. You and the tree are very, very similar in terms of your power, your presence, and your contribution when you know how to access the abundance of life. The one thing you've got that a tree doesn't have is a thinking mind. So you have to manage the mind so that you can do what a tree can't do, which is to make amazing things happen with the doing model of power. So you get to access both. The most powerful people I know have practiced and explored how to access both skill sets as needed for the situation at hand. This is how we thrive generously, doing and being. So on to missing asset number 2. Missing asset number 2 is safety. Safety, safety, safety. Missing asset number 1 is space. Space for you to be. Missing asset number 2 is to claim safety. And the way you practice claiming safety, is by choosing to be gentle with yourself. Most of us are very hard on ourselves when we start to have feelings. And the way we exhibit this is by trying to talk ourselves out of it, or avoid, or neglect, or reject, or beat ourselves up, or judge ourselves, or shame ourselves. It's simply not okay for us to feel our feelings, and we have to overcome them and be strong and tough and push on through. It works, but you will not thrive generously if that is your only way of relating to your emotions. Sometimes we have to, manage it and find good timing in alternate ways. And that's something that you might be practicing and learning for the rest of your life. But if you cannot open the door to feeling safe to be you, all these feelings, you may be very, very successful and productive, but you will not necessarily feel fulfilled because you feel fulfilled. You don't achieve fulfilled. So, claiming safety by choosing to be gentle with yourself. This now leads us to the practice and the writing prompt that will allow you to explore this more. The practice, which is about presence, it's about being present with yourself and present with what arises, just like the tree is present in your relationship with you, is to be curious about becoming the safest place in the world for you. Notice when you're being hard on yourself. Stop and say this to yourself instead. I am willing to believe that I deserve to feel safe being all of me. There's another affirmation you can try on. I am willing to believe that my needs and wants and feelings are good and valuable. Realizing I'm more worried about what people think of me or how they perceive me, and they probably don't care that much or as much as I do. Okay, good awareness. Good awareness. And that awareness came from showing up for yourself, just letting it be here. Okay, so thank you for sharing that, Hareen. So the writing prompt that you can take into your life, and feel free to watch this video as many times as you want, is to consider and write about this. Where in my life am I settling for feeling unsafe to be me? Think about that. If you don't feel safe being you, it means, and you've never really explored how to feel safe. What if you were to look at it through the lens of, wow, I've been settling for this, rather than just operating and not questioning this experience and just saying, I'm not safe, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe, I don't feel safe, I'm not safe. There's something underneath that that actually moves you to understanding that A, you have a choice. You deserve to feel safe. Just like that first affirmation, you deserve to feel safe. Not only do you deserve to feel safe, you actually have the power to access your internalized safety, because you can never find safety out in the physical world in any lasting way. We're trying to control things in the world because we're looking for this permanent sense of safety through this illusion of control. And control is an illusion. You might have it for a little bit, but you always lose it because life happens. So where does that permanence come from? What is that permanence? That permanence is this homecoming. We're looking for home, and home doesn't exist out there. It exists in here. And that exists through developing a reliable relationship with yourself that you can return to. So where in my life am I settling for feeling unsafe to be me? Think about that. And where in my life would I like to feel safer being me? So take that on. I look forward to hearing what you discover, what arises. So let me talk a little bit about real life case studies. So I have a video in the playlist, and go to surpassyourlimits.com/5 reasons. It's the very first video. And I've put together a compilation of a number of students and clients who've been practicing these principles, making these shifts, and starting to thrive generously in ways that have absolutely surprised them, shocked them. They didn't even know it was possible. So again, all you have to do is practice them, show up for yourself, and the results happen. So just a really quick snapshot of a few of the ones you'll find there. And I invite you to watch all of them because it's very inspiring. Check out Abin's story, and there's timestamps in the video where you can just click ahead if you want. She shared about the shifts that happened when she started nurturing herself, becoming safe to feel her feelings, and that there was a reduction in what she calls painful spinning head, like when spinny head, where those thoughts just keep circling, worrying, and a reduction in anxiety and an increase in love, creativity, and risk-taking. Again, we settle because we're afraid to take risks because we don't know how to feel safe. So she's a great example, a story there. And Thelma, check out her story. And this is a quote, a little excerpt, but it actually goes on a little bit more with, details and storylines. She practiced showing up for herself. So by showing up for herself, guilt feelings and safety issues take care of themselves. Big sales came in quickly and closed quickly. I don't have to hunt because life supports me. Opportunities at work have shown up. Personal investments have done better. So the thing I really want to highlight here is, while I'm talking a lot about feelings, and of course we all have feelings that we'd like to feel better, there is a direct cause and effect between nurturing ways of being and concrete manifestations and results that occur in your life. And this has happened across the board. You will see in these client shares dreams of becoming a best-selling author, dreams of bringing in money easily without stress, relationships, business growing, not by focusing and working on the business, but by focusing on oneself. Lots of stories. And that's just a little snapshot of the kinds of things that students who practice this, it just works. If you're willing to show up for yourself, this stuff works. And that's the beauty of it. It's not about working harder. It's about showing up for yourself and nurturing your being, understanding the power of your awareness versus thinking, and the rest just happens. All right. So with that, we're going to start wrapping it up. Here is the visual map that I've been bringing to every class of the 5 missing assets for thriving. So you can check at the overview, the very first training I did, where you'll understand more about what this means. So last time we talked about number 1 reason you don't believe you're worth it, and the asset is space to be. Today we've talked about you're afraid and you lose hope. That's the number 2 reason. And today's asset is, oops, mistype, I'll fix that, safety, to claim safety. That's the next asset. And next class on Tuesday, I'm going to be talking about reason number 3, you don't believe you're capable. So you can fill this out as we go, so you'll have a nice reminder of everything we're learning today. And here are your next steps. Come back if you're doing this live with me next Tuesday, 12 noon on Facebook. I will be here. Post your questions and comments below, DM me, or submit your questions to surpassyourlimits.com/questions. Watch the replay as often as you need to. And as I've mentioned, this training is a preview for a new program that starts January 31. It's brand new, and it's called Thrive Generously, Live and Lead from Your Natural Abundance. If you'd like to learn more, reach out to me, email, DM me, any way that you can reach me. I will have my eyes and ears open, and I'm happy to send you some information and explore this a little bit more. This really is about living and leading from your natural abundance. Natural abundance, because when you thrive, everyone thrives. So I'll do a quick check here in the comments. If you have any questions at this time, feel free to post. I'll hang out here for another minute. And if there are no questions or comments today, the video will be going out. I'll send you an email if you're on my email list. Let me know if you'd like to be added to the email list, if that's easier. And I hope you have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. Anything else here? Questions, comments? Okay, thanks everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye.